That just recognizing, oh, I've seen this before. I must be on my way into that higher awareness, right? Instead of being like, oh my God, it's happening again, right? And going back in to that first person narrative of it's going to be exactly like it was, right? Um, and so, yeah, I think it's important, like she said, to have that instead of the linear, I'm only going one direction and it must be the wrong one if I keep seeing this thing. Um, that, oh, recognizing, oh, that's why I love cycles, because when you can start recognizing, oh, this is happening again, and I remember feeling this way before, and that doesn't mean something's wrong with me or wrong with life. I can live into a better experience, right?
Yeah, it's like those folks in therapy who are in the circle. You know, they've flattened the spiral and they can only see it from one level of consciousness. Um,
Mm.
but as soon as we start expanding our lens, we have a whole lot more room to travel and to bring understanding to what we've experienced and experiencing.
And when you remembered the correlation to the life of in Egypt and that experience, like what deepened that knowledge for you?
Well, I started having this series of spontaneous past life remembrances. Like I was fully in these past lives. And I had done enough work um, with teachers and in workshops to have components of different past lives. And suddenly the whole arc started to fit together. It's like, whoa, I knew how I came into this world of physical earth creation. And then I knew how I was exiled from it after that initiation. And then I knew a lot, and then the reentry and the steps in between. And, so the reentry took me, or the exile took me to a really different place. The spiral went down, 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 when I came back in to creation. And then it was like, oh, now I'm seeing this
Mm.
spiral upwards. Right. And
Wow.
I mean, it's hard to convey without a lot of content that would probably.
I know. It's like it would just be listening to stories all day. Like, ooh, another story.
That might be
Yeah.
valuable here is
Yeah.
that we're not, our country seems to be going through a collective initiation right now. Yeah. And, not to bring, not to get political, but it's easy if you have a favored candidate and that favored candidate doesn't win, to be in this doom spiral, and found myself going there. But when I realized, oh my gosh, the country is going through an initiation, and it's exactly the same astrological configuration that happened during 1776 when we declared our independence. So there is a spiraling. There is a spiraling up, even though it doesn't feel like it, that, we have made significant progress in human rights and in equity. It doesn't feel like it a lot of times, and there's a lot of forces trying to take us backwards, but we are going, going forward. And the
Yeah.
astrology
It's
supports.
heightening the awareness of how far we have to go with that, right? And yesterday was the official entry of Pluto into Aquarius, at least in the Western astrology. And so it's there, it's going to stay there. It's been going back and forth and knocking us around. And it's been brutal, right? And that's the point of Pluto. It's a little brutal, it is. And it's, and it is that energy of, oh, you haven't learned the lesson yet. Let me make it really obvious
Yeah.
that something needs to change, right? And or I'll just explode some things and then you'll have to change it, right? So it is that energy, and it can feel that it is detrimental or and potently so, like you can't get beyond it. Pluto is that energy, but that's the point. You're not supposed to get beyond it. You're supposed to create something new. And so yeah, so for me, that's one of my lenses that helps me build my perspectives of what is happening for me, even if it may not look that way to me yet, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And we just need to keep reminding each other.
Yeah, that's our biggest job, honestly, is for us with these huge callings. And they are huge, by the way, because when we cannot have enough of our essence in the world, then we create the imbalance that allows for the disparity of what is possible to what is happening, right?
Mhm,
And so the more those things are happening, the more we're called. And then we feel like this pressure on both sides, kind of, because what happens is like you're like either doom scrolling on this become like the new term, right? On social media, or you're in and on purpose and it's the only thing that makes sense anymore when you have this calling, because it is our heart-centered, purpose-oriented, visionary people that are going to make this bearable. And the more the disparity happens, the more we're called.
mhm,
And so it's not a mistake that you're like, oh, in the absolute worst time, I feel like I need to start my business now.
mhm,
That's not a mistake, right? And that's happening for a reason, because you're needed. And so that's why I'm so devoted to making sure that people understand that it may look really different for you to step out into that arena, but we still need you and we need the difference. We need it to look different because it's not working the way it looks right now. And so we need enough variation that we can start making new choices. And if we get to see each other's new choices, then we realize, oh, I don't have to be in this box anymore. I can make it real to me and successful in the ways that I need it to show up for me. Right. So I don't know, I got on my soapbox a little bit there.
I noticed that Daryl just submitted a chat message in the chat saying, "Real change comes from rubble. New starts from the destruction of old. Cycles show us we make it through."
I love that.
He also said, "I thought Noodle was a real dog." You're right.
I mean, lively creature, right? And we all have consciousness, right? And Noodle has lived a lot of life with
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not that surprised. I'm not that surprised, right? Yay. Oh, Dr. Ryman's here. Hey, Kristen. I don't know if she's still here, but it's good to see her. She, Jenna was talking earlier about some chronic, things that are happening with her, and she has this amazing community that is built around chronic um, patterns of illness and what it takes to navigate that in the health arena. And she's built this amazing community. She talks a lot about what it takes to do those things that will move you in the progress level of those complex illnesses, because they're all kind of feeding off of each other. And the theme will continue. She's going to talk a little bit about how purpose is part of that wellness. Oh, Susie too. Susie is going to talk about a little bit about that too. So yeah, so we have some amazing wise women, and they say we think alike when that happens. Right? I'm like, yeah, that's what happens. Oh my goodness. So yeah. So that's what we're doing. Like in the top of the hour, this hour is lunch hour. So I like people to be able to move around and get some food. And if you want to put us in your ear when we start again, at 12:30. We'll come into the room early, just to chit chat. So what we'll talk about essentially is how we're applying this to our own lives and our own experience. What we've learned and what we are allowing to take with us, right? and like, diving into these tools. If you're picking up on these amazing gifts, then how we're going to apply that. So yay, I'm looking forward to that. And then we have Lisa is our next. Yeah, Daryl likes to talk. That's sorry. He put in the chat, I like group talk. So I'm like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. We will get stuck in some of the, like, especially if we go together, because we have such different perspectives. We will just be bouncing ideas back and forth and like having conversations for hours with people, which is why we have to kind of get away from each other so we can get something done. Um, but yeah, that Lisa is an amazing community worker, and she's an artivist. So she uses her art to help people to find that balance of perspective, and to make life more beautiful, and that intention of enjoying right while we're here. And so it's a really powerful conversation, because we're going to again have that sense of why it is important for us to stay in that creative mind as well. Like we talked about the parts that can be a little negative, right? That of feeling like you need to perfect something in the past, which is not possible, right? But the positive side of that is that we are in that creative mode. We are creating new possibilities of transformation and transmuting old feelings and habits and patterns that don't serve us anymore. Where when we are allowing ourselves to move into that creative consciousness, we're allowing something new to happen. And then the newness doesn't just feel like something to be afraid of, right? It can be beautiful, it can be enjoyable. And so when we live in those experiences and allow ourselves to have repeated experiences of enjoying something new and unexpected, we get to have a different relationship with that. Old folks, we call them pearls. Um, I'm sorry. I'm making fun of my husband, but I love him and he's very wise. You can unmic Daryl and say something. That would be great. And if anybody else has any questions for Valerie before we have to jump off at 5 minutes before the hour, that'd be great. Hey, Steve, go ahead, unmute.
Okay. So I'm kind of really new to this. This is my first time attending anything like this. Jenna is the one who introduced me to it and encouraged me to stop in. So here I am. But something that resonated with me a little bit was, when we go through life, we go through this journey. It just reminded me of something I read from Dan Millman, where he talks about, the journey is what brings happiness, not the destination. And I grew up as a Catholic, um, so we kind of talk about going through trials and tribulations in life, and to take joy in that, um, because there are those lessons. There is growth that happens as we go through those experiences, as often as we go through those experiences. And to the point that was made, like, each time it's a little bit different because no moment is ever the same. The people aren't the same. The time isn't the same. The circumstances aren't exactly the same. So, looking back at our growth and how we can approach this new situation, is just always, for me anyways, it's just very, I, I guess it's just, it helps me realize that, wow, I am making progress, and progress is a good thing. Even though we're still getting challenged, at least we know that we're moving forward in the right direction, or in a direction anyways. Um, but I guess my question is, um, when we talk about our gifts, is there anything to people being put in these situations so others might be able to learn from how we deal with our situations, how we handled the situations, how we grew through the situations that we find ourselves in? Because to me, I think that in and of itself is a gift, and it's not something I don't think everybody is really equipped to do. right off the bat. It takes a lot of strength to keep getting beat down in life, right? Um, and that's just kind of a little bit how I feel. I've just gotten beat down so often, but I like to think that there's a purpose to it, and it might not even be for myself, but for other people. But I don't know if this is like completely wrong thinking or what, but I was just interested in your take.
Oh, Steve, it sounds more like an insight than a question. This sounds like something you already know, that you already know that there is some purpose to what's been happening in your life. And that to have that consciousness that sees you yourself going through that and sees the other who might learn from that, that's already a huge leap of consciousness, right? Because you're not in the center of being exploited by whatever it is that's been beating you down. You're already transmuting it into, this is not only a gift for me, which is kind of step one, but a gift for others, step two. And I wouldn't be surprised if that informs your work in the world.
Wow. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great picture, by the way.
Yes, thank you so much for asking, because that is the truth, right? Those patterns are what hone our ability to share our gifts and to use them for ourselves. I like to start there of using it for ourselves and then to share it, right? Because it is just to make you into a a larger awareness of service in the way that you can, and those things that have allowed you to live through those experiences are the gifts that you have and get to pass on if that's what you are ready to do. So, all right, Valerie, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that before we jump off our lunch time?
I just wanted to say thank you for having me. And thank you, all of you, for your attention and listening to my long stories.
Well, thank you for being present enough to share them with us and allow them to let us, I don't know, soak in them and understand the dimensions of what wants to live through our initiation experiences, you know? So I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll hopefully, maybe we'll see you later, maybe not, but you know where to find her. If you go ahead and go to the event page, again, you'll find her a free offer available there. And then how to get back to the room at 12:30. And at the top of the hour, we'll have our next interview. So I will see you guys there.